everybody, and welcome to Align with Zion. I'm AnaRina and I'm just here to share with you a little bit more, maybe words of encouragement, a story from Jerusalem, and just walking this thing through with you in what's happening in the world right now. And I think I was thinking, what could we discuss to really help with encouragement from Jerusalem itself? And there is a beautiful story that I want to share with you. Most of you know about the Shiloah Pool in the city of David. The Shiloah Pool in the Bible, specifically the story of Hezekiah when he had to reroute the water when the Assyrian king came, at the time when the kingdom split and the Assyrians were actually just burning down the northern kingdom, and some of the refugees made it to Jerusalem. Jerusalem was too small, so Hezekiah had to enlarge it. And at the same time, he had to reroute the water because at that stage, the structure that secured the water was not good enough. So he had to reroute it to make sure that the king of Assyria don't take the water. Remember what I said, take the water, take the city. The water of Shiloah, where do we get it from? From the Gihon spring. Through Hezekiah's tunnel, it actually is sent to the Shiloah pool, and that's why the name of the pool, Shiloah, means that which is sent, because this amazing water from the Gihon spring is sent to this pool. I have no idea how the translation works, that it ended up being Siluam, but that's the Hebrew word, Shiloah. And also, when you look in the Bible, Malachim are angels, but sometimes they are referred to as Shlichim, because a Shaliach is he who is sent on some kind of purpose, with some kind of message. So many times angels in the Bible are also referred to as Shlichim. Shlichim, a Shaliach, a representative from Jerusalem. If you have to represent Israel to the world, you're also called a Shaliach. So that's the word. Now, this pool played a tremendous role in the life of Jerusalem, but also during the Chagim, the festivals, because it was a ritual bathing place for especially the men on their way to serve in the temple, to bring their offerings and to worship in the temple. And for that you had to be ritually pure. So on this note, I just want to explain a little bit about ritual purity. Many people think that from the circles where I've heard explanations outside of Judaism, that it had to be something to do with not being clean. You have to get clean. It's some kind of physical thing. It's got nothing to do with that. It's a spiritual purity, but it is very much connected to the physical as well. Not that physical hygiene doesn't play a role in the commandments that God gave the Jewish people. We know that He said when you're in a camp, whether it's in the desert or in an army camp, when you are on the way to wage war, there are definitely a few things that needs to be done. One part of your weaponry needs to be a shovel. Not going into that, but obviously you can understand that physical hygiene was always a high priority in the camp of the Israelites. So in the Middle Ages also, halachically, the Jewish people had to take certain measures to make sure, and precautions to make sure that they didn't get sick. The problem was that because they didn't get sick, the rest of the world thought that it's the Jewish people that started the plague. Anyway, keep the commandments, you will be safe. But this goes beyond that. This has to do with the degree and the level of life. You will see every time when somebody has to go through a mikveh, through a spiritual ritual bathing, it has to do with something where life was lost. If you touch the dead person, you touch the ultimate degree of death, and that's why you have to go to immerse yourself. Also, when we go to the cemetery right now, Kohanim, priests, can't go to a cemetery. They're not allowed to even enter a cemetery. normal people like us have to wash our hands afterwards. But you can also see it in the cycle, in the monthly cycle of a woman. There comes a time when she cannot give life. When she passes that part of her cycle, she has to go to the mikveh in order to get ready for the phase where she can then again give life. So everything has to do, when it comes to the mikveh, it comes to spiritual purity. Ritual purity has to do with a degree of life. That's the Shiloah Pool. That's the mikveh. This is ritual purity that the Jewish people have to keep until today. It's not for anybody else. These are the commandments. It has not been replaced. It is something that it's an eternal decree that we have to do. So this Shiloah Pool was made for those purposes, for the mikveh. But how did we find this pool in the modern story of rediscovering everything in the city of David, in the ancient biblical Jerusalem, in the areas around the Temple Mount? It's a very special story because the archaeologists knew basically where the ancient city was by now. 150 years ago, it was already rediscovered. The last 35 years, ongoing excavations. But at that time, they were really looking. It was a quest for archaeologists to find this pool. But they couldn't just start digging, even if they knew that it would have been at the southern lower point of the city, because of the housing, because of the political situation where the Jewish people can't even dig in their own land. It was complicated. So they had to wait for an et ratzon. Et ratzon is the Hebrew for an auspicious time, for a specific time that God favors, for a favorable time. So God sent a tremendous gift in the year 2004, because that in August there was a sewage pipe that burst. And suddenly, somebody had to clean it up. Now, if you know anything about construction in Israel, you would also know that you cannot build a road, you cannot build a building, you can't move unless the Israeli Antiquities Authority comes. They survey the place and they say, guys, everything is fine here, you guys can go ahead. So in construction in Israel, I think people don't like the Israeli Antiquities Authority too much. We love the Israeli Antiquities Authority. Such amazing work that these guys do. So in comes the Israeli Antiquities Authority and they say nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to be restored if we are not here surveying it as you go. So at that stage, Eli Shukran, one of the big archaeologists, was working on a site just around the corner and he was keeping an eye on what was going on. And one day he heard something. Usually you would hear the excavator just lifting the dirt, but he heard that day literally metal scraping on stone and he said, whoa, let's have a look. So they opened it up and they saw a cut stone and he said, let's keep on opening this up. So they opened up a whole paved section there. And they understood that this is connected to the pool. The more they excavated, the more they could see the extent of this pool. So this is the lesson. This is the thing that I really want to encourage you with. Maybe a sewage pipe has to burst in order for you to dig deeper, to get to the more important stuff, the more significant stuff, the parts of your soul that cannot just be discovered easily. Sometimes it takes work, and sometimes we are not willing to do that work because it's going to take some effort. When you discover the Shiloah Pool of your soul, it's indicative of your purpose, of what needs to be done in your life. So sometimes you're going to have to dig deep. But more than that, let's look at the verse that says that you have to shake off your dust. Jerusalem has to shake off the dust. She has to rise. She has to take her rightful place. The word there is hitna'ari me'afar kumi. Hitna'ari, within the root of that word, we have the three letters na'ar. Na'ar means youth. So it means in the shaking off process, you are rejuvenating yourself. You are returning to your youth. Your soul is being refreshed. So many times in our lives, the debris of life accumulated. And right now, you need to get to a point where you have to shake off all that dirt and the debris. Life happened. Life happens. So we can't say, oh, this happened and look where I'm at. All these things are also necessary. But there comes a time then that God says, stop. I'm going to bring something into your life that's going to have to make you make a change. And this is literally the story of the Shiloah Pool. The very thing that brings spiritual and ritual purification for you in order for you to get you ready to serve God was discovered through the opposite, the complete opposite of what happened, a sewage pipe that burst. Can you see that this is not by happenstance? So many places that's been discovered in Israel. But the Shiloah Pool had to be discovered by a sewage pipe bursting. So sometimes the opposite of what you ultimately will attain has to happen to start the process. Keep on going. Take the story of Jerusalem. If she can do it, so can you. I'm sending you blessings. I'm sending you encouragement from Jerusalem. And may we keep on keeping on in this walk, in aligning with Jerusalem. Let her encourage you. So keep on going. I'm sending you lots of blessings. Shalom.